Welcome back to our channel. Dear viewers, today, we invite you to join us on an extraordinary journey that will challenge your perceptions and awaken your emotions. We present a story that expertly blends ambition, criticism, and unexpected lessons. Centering around two individuals from vastly different walks of life, Lila, an esteemed recruitment officer known for her sharp evaluations, and Jake, a seemingly humble and unassuming applicant. Lila has built her career on a foundation of stringent standards and unwavering expectations. In the eyes of many, she is the epitome of professionalism, dressed in tailored suits with a keen eye for detail, ready to identify the crème de la crème of candidates to propel the company forward. Yet, beneath her polished exterior lies a heart that often overlooks the essence of true talent, valuing surface appearances over genuine character. On the other hand, we have Jake, whose journey has shaped him into an extraordinary individual, one whose intelligence and experience surpass conventional norms. Adorned in casual attire, he exudes a relaxed aura that may mislead those who glance at him. However, Jake's true purpose today is far from seeking employment. Instead, he aims to unveil a greater truth about what it means to evaluate people for who they truly are, beyond mere appearances. As their paths cross in this pivotal interview, the stage is set for a dramatic confrontation between Lila's rigid perceptions and Jake's profound wisdom. The contrast between them creates an electric tension, hinting at the revelations that lie ahead. Expecting a routine interview, neither of them is prepared for the epiphanies that will unfold. Join us as we navigate this captivating tale, where themes of judgment, humility, and unexpected truths intertwine to present a narrative that resonates deeply within today's society. Stick around, as what starts as a simple interview turns into a transformative experience that neither Lila nor Jake will ever forget. As dawn broke over the bustling city, Lila entered the high-rise office building with confidence in her stride. Clad in an impeccable business suit, her impeccably styled hair reflected her no-nonsense attitude. The soft hum of fluorescent lights greeted her, mingling with the distant sound of typing and phone calls, creating a familiar symphony that filled the air. As the lead recruitment officer at one of the most prestigious firms in the area, Lila took her role to heart. Awards and accolades adorned her desk, testaments to her sharp instincts and unflinching dedication to bringing in top-tier talent. Today was different, though. Today she would be interviewing a candidate she had quickly noted as just another applicant. Her to-do list emphasized results and productivity, and she had every intention of upholding her high standards. With the day's agenda sprawled before her, she was prepared to dismiss candidates who didn't meet her immaculate criteria. That was just the way it was. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Lila, Jake stood outside the building, slightly anxious yet excited. Clad in casual attire, a simple t-shirt and jeans, he appeared relaxed. Almost too relaxed for a job interview at such a well-regarded firm. Yet, that was precisely the point. Jake wasn't looking for a job, he was here to gauge the ethical values of potential employees, testing their sincerity and openness. Underneath his unassuming exterior lay the heart and mind of a CEO, who had built a prosperous tech company from scratch. As Lila prepared for her interviews, she flipped through Jake's resume, her expression marked with skepticism. She couldn't fathom how someone with such a humble presence could possibly fit into her corporate ideals. How can someone like him think he belongs in a professional environment? She muttered under her breath, unaware that her preconceived notions were already blinding her judgment. The clock struck 10, signaling the beginning of the interviews. Lila's first candidate walked out, leaving her with a mixture of relief and apprehension. She glanced at the waiting area, and spotted Jake casually flipping through his phone. A wave of impatience surged within her. "This is going to be another waste of time," she declared to herself, her expectations already set in stone. As she signaled Jake to enter, she took a deep breath, reinforcing her determination to maintain control of the interview. Little did she know, Jake was about to challenge everything she believed about appearances. With the stage set for a battle of wits, the air thickened with unspoken tension, and both Lila and Jake prepared for a showdown that would forever shift their perspectives. The office was more than just a setting, it was a crucible where judgments and biases would collide, paving the way for an unexpected lesson in humility and understanding. As Jake entered the sleek, glass-encased office of the prestigious recruitment firm, the air felt electric with unspoken tension. The high ceilings and modern decor epitomized the corporate world, sharp, intimidating, and very much ruled by appearances. The reception area, adorned with plush chairs and digital displays featuring the company's accolades, was a testament to success. But amid this sophistication, Jake appeared incongruous. Dressed in a simple, casual shirt and worn jeans, he exuded an air of laid-back confidence that instantly clashed with Lila's well-pressed suit and meticulously styled hair. Lila, seated behind her immaculate desk with a polished iPad in hand, looked up and felt a flicker of disdain. She raised her eyebrow slightly, scrutinizing him as he approached. To her, Jake was nothing more than a poorly dressed applicant. Someone who lacked serious ambition. What a gamble this company takes by interviewing someone like him, she thought, hesitating for a brief moment. Jake extended his hand, and Lila begrudgingly reciprocated. Her grip was firm but lacked warmth. As they settled into the interview, she couldn't shake the notion that his casual demeanor reflected a lack of seriousness. Why would someone like him think he could fit into a place like this? Her mind raced with presumptions. As the questions began, Lila wasted no time in setting the tone. "Tell me about your experience and what qualifies you for this role," she asked, her voice dripping with skepticism. Jake met her gaze steadily, his mind racing with thoughts not of self-doubt but of the stark contrast in values they were about to unveil. "In my early 20s, I founded my own tech company," he replied, maintaining a calm composure. "We focus on creating accessible technology for underprivileged communities." He included anecdotes about not only the foundational aspects of his company but also the trials he faced along the way, funding issues, team dynamics, and the challenge of building a mission-driven business from scratch. Lila's expression remained unchanged. Her posture rigid, she leaned back slightly, arms crossed, as if assessing a piece of art she had no intention of appreciating. Every word Jake spoke rolled off her back like water off a duck. "That's interesting. But I can't see how that unconventional background prepares you for our demands," she retorted, harking back to her notion of professionalism. Jake could sense the barriers surrounding her, her need for validation in the form of polished resumes and conventional appearances. Rather than backing down, he leaned in slightly, maintaining a sense of connection. "It's not always about appearances, you know?" he ventured cautiously. "Sometimes, what truly counts is the impact we create and our ability to adapt to circumstances." As their words hung in the air, tensions crescendoed, each statement a marker in their psychological tug-of-war. Jake felt compelled to peel back the layers of judgment. while Lila braced herself against the tide of authenticity, both firmly entrenched in their positions but equally aware that the outcome of this interview would redefine more than just roles. It was a clash of ideals. A dramatic introduction that would propel their interaction into deeper conflict. In that moment, Jake's casual attire transformed from a perceived flaw to an unexpected challenge for Lila's prejudiced views, setting the stage for a revolutionary confrontation. As the clock struck 10, Jake found himself seated across from Lila in the stark, modern conference room. The sunlight streamed in through the large glass windows, illuminating Lila's sharp features, accentuated by her meticulously styled hair and tailored suit. In contrast, Jake wore a simple t-shirt and jeans, comfortable yet casual. The setting felt charged with unspoken tension. A battle between two ideologies, one founded on rigid norms and the other on raw authenticity. Lila cleared her throat, her posture rigid, as she prepared to seize control of the interview. So, Jake, tell me about your experience and why you think you'd be a good fit for our organization, she asked, her voice dripping with condescension. Jake took a moment. It's not every day that you get grilled by someone who barely knows the depths of your journey, he thought. I started my journey in tech when I was just a teenager, he began, his tone steady yet passionate. I developed my first app at 15, all while balancing schoolwork and a part-time job. I spent countless hours learning coding languages, networking, and connecting with others in the industry. Lila frowned, her eyebrow arching in disbelief. That's great, Jake. But do you have any formal credentials? Any kind of prestigious education? She interjected, her skepticism palpable. I went through various internships, and while I didn't attend a traditional university, I launched my own tech company at 20. Jake replied, his voice unwavering despite Lila's judgment. He could sense her trying to downplay his successes. But this was an opportunity to highlight the resilience that brought him here. Lila leaned back, arms crossed defiantly. You do realize that most of our employees have degrees from Ivy League schools. We prioritize professionalism and credentials. It's essential for maintaining our company's reputation, she stated, her tone emphasizing the divide between them. Absolutely, Jake responded, maintaining eye contact. But isn't it also about capability and creativity? Many great ideas come from unconventional thinkers who don't fit the mold. I believe skills and innovative thoughts can outweigh traditional qualifications. He leaned forward, hoping to ignite a spark of understanding in her. Lila seemed unconvinced. We value a polished image here, it's part of our brand. You don't seem to grasp that, she retorted, her voice tinged with incredulity. At that moment, Jake felt a surge of determination. He anchored himself in his past, the late nights coding in a cramped apartment, the countless rejections he faced, and the triumph of building something from nothing. Lila? He began cautiously. I get that appearances matter in business. But I come from a place where we weren't given chances based on how we looked or where we studied. We had to work hard, prove ourselves. Silence hung in the air, tension rising between their contrasting views. Lila's mind buzzed with conflicting thoughts as she assessed Jake's raw authenticity against her rigid standards. It was clear this wasn't just an interview for him, it was a chance to challenge someone's ingrained beliefs and, perhaps, change them for the better. As the interview progressed, Lila leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, a skeptical expression plastered across her face. Jake, who had anticipated a challenging discussion from the start, sat calmly, maintaining eye contact and listening intently to her questions. She began with a standard inquiry about his previous work experience, which he answered succinctly, detailing his early days in the tech industry. Yet, Lila's dismissive tone made it painfully clear that she was not impressed by his casual storytelling. "Is that it? You built a company from the ground up just by winging it?" she scoffed, a hint of sarcasm in her voice, as she flicked through his resume. "I mean, how do you expect to compete with candidates who have Ivy League degrees and years of corporate experience?" Jake felt a flicker of annoyance but decided to redirect the conversation. "Actually, Lila, my journey began in a small garage where a handful of friends and I pooled together our savings. We didn't have much, but we had a vision. We wanted to make technology accessible to the everyday person. You'd be surprised how creativity and a fresh perspective can disrupt a market that's overrun with conventional thinking." Lila stared at him, her eyes sharpening. But she refused to let his passion slide. "That sounds great in theory. But business is more than just creativity, it's about structure. Formality. Without that, how do you expect to sustain success?" Jake could sense the condescension dripping from her words. Yet he remained resolute. "On the contrary, structure and formality can stifle innovation. Yes, those elements are important. But there's also value in approaching problems unconventionally," he replied, his voice steady. "When I started my company, I faced countless challenges, significant setbacks that tested my resolve. Yet, every failure became a lesson. Every obstacle a stepping stone." His explanation unfolded like a rich tapestry, presenting not just facts but emotions, the anxiety of initial struggles, the sleepless nights filled with doubt, the exhilaration of breakthroughs. Lila's expression shifted slightly, curiosity creeping into her eyes despite her best efforts to remain stoic. "I went through times where nearly giving up felt like the easiest option," Jake continued, his voice dropping to a more reflective tone. "But it was in those moments of despair that I learned the most about perseverance and leadership. Leadership isn't about titles or accolades, it's about inspiring others to rise, to believe in the vision despite the odds. That's what I seek in potential hires, not just skills on paper but a spirit willing to forge ahead against all challenges." Lila opened her mouth to counter, but something in his earnestness held her back. She glanced away, wrestling with herself, as the dichotomy between her biases and his truth began to create cracks in her judgment. This dialogue was turning into more than an interview, it was a profound exchange of values. A revealing moment that illuminated not just Jake's character but also her own. In this pivotal moment, Jake had unwittingly issued a challenge to Lila, to look beyond the surface and reconsider what true qualification entailed. Whatever her conclusions would be, one thing was certain, this interview would change the course of both their lives in unexpected ways. The interview room was tense, the air thick with unspoken judgments. Lila leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms, her sharp eyes fixed on Jake, who sat comfortably at the edge of his seat. His casual attire seemed to further provoke her skepticism. The disparity in their appearance is a constant source of irritation for her. With a slight smile, Jake decided it was time to shake things up. "Lila?" he began, his voice steady. "Can we pause for a moment? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what truly makes a candidate stand out in today's competitive job market." Lila raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by the shift in dynamics. "Well, for starters, There's professionalism, she said. Her voice already tinged with entitlement. Professionalism? Jake interjected, leaning forward with interest. Isn't that a rather narrow perspective? What about passion? Creativity? Or the ability to adapt? Often, those traits aren't visible in a suit and tie. Her irritation was palpable. But first impressions matter. Jake. This is a corporate environment. And we have standards to uphold. If someone can't present themselves appropriately, what does that say about their dedication? Jake took a moment, choosing his words carefully. But consider this, I might be a diamond in the rough. Are you really prepared to overlook potential simply because I'm not wearing a three-piece suit? What if my ideas could revolutionize the industry? Shouldn't we measure talent in more meaningful ways? Lila felt her defenses rising. But a seed of doubt was planted in her mind. She rebutted. But would you really want a team full of individuals who don't understand the basics of professional presentation? Professional presentation, Jake echoed, is important. But it doesn't define someone's skills. The most innovative ideas often come from those who refuse to conform to rigid standards. He paused, allowing his words to resonate as Lila remained silent, wrestling with her thoughts. I want you to search within yourself. Lila? Think about the candidates you've dismissed in the past. Were they truly not good enough? Or did you simply let appearance cloud your judgment? Lila shifted in her seat, a frown creasing her brow. Jake continued. Let's turn the lens inward. What if the best ideas come from unexpected places? Shouldn't our conversations about talent be inclusive rather than exclusive? The debate grew intense, pushing both of them into uncharted territory. For the first time, Lila began to comprehend the duality of her position, her ideals clashing with the reality of the diverse world outside. As they delved deeper into their conversation, it became evident that Jake was expertly guiding her toward a revelation about bias and fairness in selection. Let's open the door to opportunities. Lila, Jake urged. Imagine if you could recognize talent without a superficial evaluation. How many potential gems have you overlooked? In that moment, the dialogue shifted from mere interview questions to a reflective exchange filled with introspection. Lila felt the weight of her biases, slowly realizing that the test of fairness was not just in assessing Jake, it was about redefining her own beliefs and the very essence of recruitment. As the heated debate continued to unfold, Jake leaned back in his chair, assessing Lila's demeanor. He could see the walls she had built around herself, defenses crafted from years of entrenched biases and misconceptions. Their conversation had taken unexpected turns, and Jake sensed they were reaching a critical juncture. Lila, he said, his voice steady yet calm. I believe that true potential cannot be assessed solely based on how someone presents themselves. In a world driven by appearances, it's vital to understand the person behind the facade. Lila crossed her arms, preparing for a counter-argument. But there was a glimmer of vulnerability in her eyes. You talk as if appearances don't matter at all. How can you expect clients and colleagues to take someone seriously if they don't present themselves well? First impressions are everything. Jake paused, allowing her words to linger in the air between them. You're right about first impressions. But tell me this, if I came in here dressed in a tailored suit, do you think you would have seen me as just another cookie-cutter applicant? Lila opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. It was a fair point, and she was starting to feel the weight of Jake's perspective pressing against her well-guarded defenses. Let me put it this way, he continued, pulling a small card from his wallet. This is my company ID. With a deliberate motion, Jake turned the card towards Lila, revealing the logo of his tech firm glinting under the fluorescent lights. The name printed boldly beneath it, Jake Anderson. CEO? Lila's breath hitched in her throat, and time seemed to freeze. The shock flickered across her face as she struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. This wasn't just a common applicant, this was the very entrepreneur she had read about in industry journals, a visionary who had disrupted the tech landscape and created countless opportunities for others. What? Lila stammered, her carefully constructed persona crumbling around her. The disbelief twisted into anger, a reaction against herself for having judged a man whose potential and caliber she had underestimated. I didn't come to flaunt my title, Jake said, his tone firm yet gentle. I wanted you to see the person behind this. People shouldn't be dismissed based on their appearance. It's the passion, determination, and resilience that truly count. Shame washed over Lila, as realization dawned. The very biases she prided herself on had clouded her judgment, causing her to miss the deeper truths hidden beneath the surface. Jake's steadfastness and humility stirred something within her, a resolve to change her ways. Jake. Lila began, emotions catching in her throat. I'm so sorry. I see now how wrong I was. Jake offered a soft smile, extending an olive branch of understanding. It's okay, Lila. We all have biases we need to confront. What matters is how we choose to grow from them. In that moment of vulnerability, both Lila and Jake realized the importance of embracing inclusivity. Jake had come looking for prospective team members, but through this unexpected exchange, he had inadvertently offered Lila a profound lesson about humanity and acceptance. As Jake sat there, the weight of the revelation hung in the air like a thick fog, enveloping Lila in a mix of confusion and shame. The moment Jake produced his company ID, time seemed to freeze for Lila. Her mind raced. As the realization struck her like a lightning bolt, she had been interrogating the very essence of her own career without a shred of respect for the person before her. Wait. You're the CEO of Innovate Tech. Lila stammered, her voice barely a whisper. A stark contrast to the unwavering confidence with which she had conducted the entire interview. Her heart raced as the implications of her actions flooded her thoughts. What had driven her to dismiss someone so accomplished? The very values she preached about hard work and merit were washed away by her own prejudice. Jake's expression remained composed, a subtle mix of disappointment and understanding. Yes, I am, he replied, his voice calm and steady. But more importantly, this isn't just about my title or achievements. It's about how easily we can misjudge someone based on appearances. The weight of his words pressed heavily on Lila. It was an uncomfortable truth, a mirror reflecting her biases and insecurities. For so long, she had prided herself on her ability to spot winners in the job market. But today, she had failed spectacularly. Shame washed over her, coloring her cheeks crimson as she struggled to find the right words to redeem herself. I'm so sorry, Jake. Lila finally managed, her voice trembling with sincerity. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment. I was wrong to treat you the way I did. I judged you by your appearance instead of acknowledging your potential and the journey you have taken. Jake leaned forward slightly, his eyes softening. I appreciate your apology, Lila. It takes courage to admit when you are wrong. Just remember that everyone has a story. The value of a person isn't determined by their attire or initial presentation, but by their experiences and character. The moment felt cathartic. Lila felt the burden of guilt begin to lift, replaced by a burgeoning recognition of her own shallowness. As they spoke, the atmosphere shifted from one of animosity to understanding, a connection forged through vulnerability. Here was not just a recruitment officer meeting a candidate but two individuals navigating the intricacies of human behavior and the judgments they often carry. "I'll learn from this," Lila promised, determination shining in her eyes. "I'll strive to create an inclusive recruiting environment that appreciates the unique paths of all candidates. I want to ensure that no one ever feels undervalued in my interviews again." Jake smiled, seeing the genuine transformation within Lila. That's all I could ask for. He knew that this moment would ripple outward, impacting not just Lila but the candidates she would screen in the future. It was a change that could affect countless lives. As the chapter drew to a close, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This encounter had not only tested her professional abilities but had transformed her understanding of humility and respect. She was ready to embrace this new perspective, recognizing that sometimes life's lessons come from the most unexpected encounters. As the lingering tension from the interview dissipated, Lila felt a wave of realization washing over her. The revelation that Jake was not just any candidate but the CEO of a successful tech company struck her like a lightning bolt. The gravity of her prior judgments weighed heavily on her conscience, filling her with embarrassment. She watched as Jake put away the company ID, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the storm of emotions swirling within her. Initially, she had dismissed him as merely an underqualified applicant. Yet here he was, an extraordinary individual, whose creativity and drive had reshaped the industry. His journey, a tale of resilience and unyielding determination, challenged everything she thought she knew about success and professionalism. "Jake," she stammered, her voice tinged with vulnerability, "I owe you an apology. I let my biases cloud my judgment. And I completely failed to see the person behind the appearance." The sincerity in her words was palpable. And for the first time, Lila wished to understand the deeper layers that each candidate could potentially offer. Jake, observing the genuine remorse in her eyes, offered a soft smile. "It's okay, Lila. We all have our preconceived notions. But today you have the power to change those views, both for yourself and for every applicant who walks through that door." His words encouraged her to reconsider the standards she held so tightly. As they continued to converse, Lila leaned forward, intrigue replacing her earlier skepticism. "What can I do to ensure I never make a mistake like this again?" she asked earnestly. It was a moment of self-reflection that many never dare to embrace. Jake appreciated her willingness to learn and shared valuable insights about team dynamics and the importance of diverse perspectives in a workplace. He emphasized that creativity and innovation stem from varied backgrounds and experiences, reminding her that talent often comes in unexpected forms. Inspired by Jake's story, Lila began to envision a new approach to her role. "What if I introduce a blind evaluation process for candidates?" she proposed excitedly. "We could focus on skills and experiences rather than appearances." Jake nodded enthusiastically, recognizing the impact such a change could have on their company culture. The conversation lingered long after the interview concluded. When Lila finally walked him to the door, she felt a sense of renewal. She had learned a valuable lesson about humility, and the importance of embracing differences. Jake, too, left the office feeling empowered. He had not only tested the integrity of his company but also sparked a change in Lila that would ripple throughout the firm. As she watched him leave, Lila resolved to become a champion of inclusivity within her recruiting team. promising to give every candidate a fair opportunity to shine. She understood that the journey of growth and learning was just beginning. And it filled her with hope. Jake had not only changed her perspective but had set a new standard for what it meant to truly see a person beyond their exterior. As Jake stepped out of the building, he felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. Not only had he successfully tested the values of his own company, but he had also managed to impart a valuable lesson to Lila. The bustling city outside mirrored the chaos of his emotions. But he remained hopeful. Jake knew that the true essence of leadership lay not just in expertise, but in the capability to inspire change in others. In the weeks that followed, Lila experienced a profound transformation. The embarrassment of her previous judgments weighed heavily on her. But rather than allowing it to consume her, she turned it into motivation. Fueled by a desire to learn, Lila immersed herself in literature and training focused on unconscious biases in recruitment. She attended workshops on inclusivity and diversity, seeking to better understand the myriad perspectives that candidates bring to the table. With newfound resolve, Lila began to change her approach in the hiring process at her firm. She championed initiatives that encouraged open dialogues about personal experiences and the importance of valuing character over appearance. Under her guidance, interviews became safe spaces where candidates felt seen and appreciated. Lila's team soon thrived in a culture of diversity and acceptance which fostered creativity and innovation. The ripple effect of Jake's interview resonated throughout the entire recruitment department. Colleagues who had once participated in Lila's superficial assessments began sharing stories of their own misjudgments, creating an environment of empathy and understanding. Together, they established a peer mentorship program aimed at providing support and guidance to aspiring candidates from various backgrounds, demonstrating that every story matters, and every person has unique contributions to offer. Jake, meanwhile, kept a close watch on the changes at his company. He was delighted to learn how Lila transformed the recruitment process. Inspired by the genuine commitment to improve, he invited Lila to collaborate on a video series that focused on breaking typical stereotypes in the corporate world. With her first-hand experience of transformation, she was eager to share her newfound insights. As the story comes to a close, the audience is left to ponder the implications of Lila's journey. They're reminded that growth often comes from our mistakes, and the importance of fostering an inclusive environment that celebrates diversity. Above all, viewers are encouraged to introspect. How often do we judge others based on appearances? Jake's and Lila's tale serves as a vibrant reminder of the changes that can occur within us when we challenge our biases. It's not what you see on the outside, Jake once said during a Q&A session after a video featuring Lila's story, but the character and passion within that shapes our futures. The stories we tell, and the judgments we carry, can shape our worlds in profound ways. As the credits roll, viewers are inspired to look beyond the surface, nurturing a deeper understanding of empathy and respect in their own lives. With the closing thought resonating, the audience is invited to reflect: how might you change your perspective today? Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories that challenge perceptions and celebrate the human experience.